my keynote speech talk is called Communication Reimagined. And I'd like to start my presentation. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce myself, who I am. My name is Akiyoshi INASAKA. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Design, Faculty of Creative Engineering, Chiba Institute of Technology. And my major field of research is spatial design, data visualization, instructional design, information design, and so on. My field is, enlarging day by day. And I'm originally from the architecture and urban design field. I studied in bachelor's degree, and I took my doctoral PhD degree in urban engineering and spatial analysis. After my PhD course, I worked for the architecture department at the Tokyo University of Science in Japan. And from 2015, I joined the Chiba Institute of Technology Department of Design as a teaching staff for spatial design, informatics, and instructional design. So today I would like to talk about communication. And this is the abstract that is on the web page of this conference. I just read the abstract right from here. So the global spread of infectious disease has dramatically altered the form of communication that used to be part of everyday life. Many forms of face-to-face communications are lost, but new forms of communication have become the focus of attention amidst these difficulties. In the field of design education, in particular, creating the kind of collaboration that connects people has been a significant issue, and each school is probably going through its trial and error process. Communication will occupy an essential position in almost all processes involved in creating and using things in the design field. Because our communication mode has increased, there is more communication than ever before. However, there are new issues that are emerging. In this lecture, I will like to reflect on the efforts of executing an international design workshop between Taiwan and Japan in 2020 and 2021, and deepen our discussion on the future of new communication in the design field. So I would like to talk about what I have done in the previous years. It's called the Global Design Workshop. It's a class managed by our department, and it's an international design workshop program. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to talk about briefly about our what is Global Design Workshop. So this is a class for our students at Chiba Institute of Technology. And as a background, I'll read this text here. As a co-creation and cooperation with various objects, fields, and regions surrounding the design field progresses, the act of design is not limited to the technical and aesthetic aspects, but also extends to cultural aspects and the issue of understanding and expression based on the understanding of objects such as users and the environment are the most important issue in design education today. In this class, we will hold a joint design workshop on specific design issues with our overseas partner universities in order to cultivate cross-cultural understanding and communication skills. So the objective of this class is to basic content and research that can be self-studied will be done before class, and active learning of the project-based learning type will be conducted, emphasizing the development of communication skills through cooperative learning, such as group discussions based on English. So the applicants of the Chiba Institute of Technology will be granted one credit for their student career. So I joined Chiba Institute of Technology from 2015, And when I came to this university, I was assigned to organize a class of international design workshop that will be held during the summer vacation. And in 2015, students of National Taipei University of Technology visited Chiba Institute of Technology, and we had a field working of the old town of Urayasu, where the Tokyo Disney resorts are. So we go out into the town and to see what heritage are there in the town, and find those heritages and make something to enhance those heritage. And next year, 2016, we have hosted another workshop inviting the students from Tsinghua University. This workshop was about computational design using small sensors, simple algorithms, and actuator to design new digital products to support our everyday lives. So if you can see the picture here, talking and discussion scenes are very active and lively. This was what we are doing before the pandemics. And in 2018, Chiba University in Japan has hosted the International Design Workshop related to this our Global Design Workshop. And the students from Tsinghua University and my students from Chiba Institute of Technology joined this workshop. Workshops are held at the old town of Nagareyama in Chiba Prefecture, about an hour away from our university. It is famous for mirin, a sweet cooking rice wine from Edo period, which is about around 14, 15th centuries. So our task was to design street experiences to enhance the old heritage of Nagareyama. We have done hosted and also participated in the international design workshop hosted in with us, and also Chiba University. And okay, okay, thank you. So and in 2019, finally, we have visited Tsinghua University uh, for international design workshop, and I took 10 students from Chiba Institute of Technology to join the workshop. The theme of this workshop was design a street furniture to fulfill the citizens' life. And you can see the picture here. You know, this is way the workshop should look like before the pandemics, and this is what is very the fun part or the exciting part, uh, communication with students from Japan and Taiwan. That is the most interesting part and exciting part of this workshop. But in 2020, uh, we were hoping to invite students from Taiwan to hold another workshop in Japan, and we are starting planning. We have started planning those workshops, but the COVID-19 pandemics took away everything, lost our opportunities. But I could not give up my hope. So I talked and discussed about it with my mentors, professor at Chiba Institute of Technology. I also messaged professors at the university in Taiwan who we met and got to know with each other in the previous workshops. And I talked with my students. What do you want to do? Do you want to you, do you want to do some international workshop in this situation? They all agreed to hold our online workshop. So I started planning. This was my a very big challenge last year. So I talked with my mentors and university at the university, and gave a message to the professor at the university in Taiwan, And these are the numbers of students who participated in the workshop that we hosted in 2020 and 2021. And National Taipei University of Technology, there's a lot of students participated. Thank you very much. Tsinghua University, uh, many students, and also uh, National Cheng Kung University. They joined from this year's workshop. They, we had a great time working with those students. And thanks to the students from Taiwan participated. I think some of the students who participated may be joining this conference. And so the participants are set here. We decided on the schedules. Um, Mostly the international design workshop during the summer, the workshop are being held in 5 consecutive uh, days in 1 week. But this was my new challenge, and doing the workshop in 5 consecutive days online, that would be very stressful for the participants and also the management teams at the Chiba Institute of Technology. So we decided to do a workshop, a 6-week workshop, like a schedule like this. First week is ice breaking. Second week, defining the program problem, and also the week 3 is ideation of the project, and week 4 prototyping, week 5 actuating the project, and week 6 presentation. Uh, because we are online, the works should be could be very intensive. But the purpose of this workshop itself is not only doing the intensive design work with students from Japan and Taiwan, but getting to know with each other, exchanging their culture and languages and thoughts about the design and so forth. That the time that is very important for the students participating in this workshop. So I made the schedule like this. Uh, First of all, is we have divided the time into socializing time and intensive time. And the first part of the workshop, there are more socializing time mm, uh, for making communication, get to know with each other, and being to the final presentation, they should work more intensively. And because they socialize a lot in the beginning, the intensive work will be very good as the workshop goes on. And also the post and pre group works between the weeks. They are doing the work with students in Taiwan and Japan, connecting with each other with the WebEx meetings and so forth, and doing some design work with them. So this is how the weeks goes. we ha- we we had a main meeting, a main workshop on Wednesday. We have two-hour meetings on WebEx meetings, and before and after the workshop, each groups will be doing their work on their own. So they will bring some results or the outcomes during the week to the main workshop to share with us and doing presentation and get some critiques from them. It was very long, 6-week workshop, maybe tiring for most of the students, but we had a very good result during these weeks. And about 2021, we got a knowledge of how to do the workshop online during the 2020. So we decided to do the workshop in the original matter, 5 consecutive day in 1 week. So the concept itself, the socializing intensive communication part is it's the same. On the first part, we do a lot of ice breaking communication with students, and we within their groups, uh, they do some socializing to understand themselves. And till the final day, the day 5, the presentation, they work more intensively to prepare for the work for the presentation. Okay, so because we are online, we can't meet students or participants in person at the same place at the same time. So we use a lot of online tools to support their communications. These are the tools that I have used. One tool is called Slack. I think many of you know. Generally, information in group works are held on this Slack text chatting systems. Also, the text chatting, they can share data or information uh, during their group works. They can put links on the Slack to share, and also they can type in their own languages, and there are a lot of translating application around right now, so they can do some translation, machine translations, in order to know what they are talking about. And WebEx meetings, I use WebEx meetings for main meetings, presentation, and live group works. So this conference itself is also on WebEx meetings, the video conferencing, description, lectures. These are done on the WebEx meetings. And finally, the Miro. Some of you know this application. This is the online whiteboard application. They can do some brainstormings, discussions, sharing materials on the board in order to do some intensive work on intensive design works in order to make some product. And also, in the previous, in before the COVID-19 pandemics, the workshop are done with the post-its and big papers. They posted on the big papers to discuss on that. But after the workshop is done, they have to be cleaned up in order to make the space clean. But on a Miro board, you can leave those work in progress situation on the board, so you can look back on what they have, what what the groups has thought about in the process. So you can just go back and forth with the information. So this was a very good tools to use for the online workshop. One another thing that I have done is grouping. Uh, all the works within this workshop are done in small groups of 5 to 6 people, and I mixed Taiwan students and Japanese students mixed in the groups within the groups, and not only mixing the nationality of the members. Groups are designed by a combination of international intercultural communication mindset in manner defined below. So I have done some questionnaire to the participant in order to know what kind of communication style they have conquering the international intercultural communication. And we have done some kind of statistical analysis to divide those group members into small clusters, and they will mix them all up into one group. And some groups has almost the same similar communication style. And what we wanted to do is that we wanted to see what kind of action or what kind of group or quality will appear within the groups. If the mixed groups are doing well, or the mono groups are going will do well. we were just doing some research on this kind of team building, group working strategies. So these are ongoing research right now. We are doing this right in our laboratory right now. Okay, so next off, we have done some the project that we have done in 2020 and 2021. And in 2020, the title of the project is called Think Online, Enhance the Real Life. So the, the contents of this project is designing an online service that improve communication experience as an alternative to face-to-face interaction under the COVID-19 pandemics. And think of the creative shared value to improve our real life at the educational institutions. And we have done this project. And in 2021, we have worked on the project called the Design, Fun, and Joy, service design to enhance our social lives. So the contents here is design a new fun and joy service under and after worldwide pandemic. Select purpose from one of four situations: entertainment to enjoy culture and amusement, workplaces to realize new ways of working, self-expression to explore new ways of expressing yourself, and learning to find new ways to build knowledge and skills. And these themes are this year. The theme is sponsored by the Fujitsu Corporation in Japan, and we are ready for the the workshop. And in 2020, it became online. It looks very fun. But in the real space, very quiet room with online meetings, uh, many devices looking at for the chats and also the mirror on the another device to see what each groups are doing. This was what the scene in the Chiba Institute of Technology in 2020. And in 2021, we have hosted another workshop, and the students participating from our university increased about 50%. So the room is very full, but still there are in the scene there are no interaction with Japanese and Taiwanese, but on the screen, there is a lot of interactions. As a result, we got a very great works from our students. We have this results on the screen is a results from 2021 workshop. There's a lot of application proposal and also some kind of handheld devices and some VR or AR devices and so on. There is a lot of exciting great works is proposed during this 5 days workshop. And after all, we had a very great times doing the workshop, even though it's online. A lot of communications are held on Slack, and there's a lot of text chatting. Some of them is some description from me, and also there are some sharing very frank information about about all of their cultures and so on and so forth. There is a lot of activities on Slack, and also works on mural boards. There was a lot of works on mural boards. I think there's a scene will be played on this screen. In 2021, we have worked from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in Japan, so 9 to 3 in Taiwan times. And they are working very hard during the days. And also before the presentation, they were working all through the night to prepare for the presentations. And most of the students in Japan cannot speak English or neither Chinese. So, but they do design work in Japan. So design can be some of the communication tools that can help students in Japan and Taiwan to communicate more about their proposals. They use a lot of machine translations in order to do communications. That might be a very hard part of this workshop. And also, I have recorded all the meetings that being done during this workshop. It's on the YouTube. It's limited to the participant of the workshop, but there are a lot of information on the YouTube to be seen by the participant in order to follow up their workshop during the day. So I have this time to finalize my presentation. So what has changed? So I would like to talk about some talk about the Edward T. Hall, who has made early discoveries of key cultural factors, and he is known for high and low context cultural factors. And uh, in our workshop, we have mix of Taiwan and Japanese culture in one place or in one online meetings, and there are factors that makes high context culture and low context culture in Edward E.T. Hall book called Beyond Culture. And in high context culture, many contextual elements help people to understand rules much is taken for granted, and could confuse people who does not understand the unwritten rules of the culture. And on the other hand, low context culture, very little is taken for granted. For more explanation is needed, means that there is less chance of misunderstanding, particularly when the visitors are present. But Japanese culture is based on high context culture. There's a lot of unwritten rules within the cultures. But within this workshop, the context is very low because we are not in the same place at the same time, sharing less information compared to the real on-site workshop. So, but the Japanese people, Japanese students, uh, have the mindset of high context culture. So it made it really a bit difficult to cope with the low context situation during the workshop. And there's a lot of factor in contrast. In high context culture, there are much non-verbal communication, but on the other hand, low context culture more focused on verbal communication than body languages, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of difference between them. There's difference in time. There's a monochronic time, polychronic time. Monochronic time is means that doing one thing at a time. And in the low context culture, people tend to do the monochronic time management. But on the other hand, the polychronic time, human interaction is valued over time and material things, leading to lesser concern for getting things done. So the high context culture tends to be polychronic. It's not the matter of good and bad about the high and low context. there's a tendency between there's a difference between the low context culture and the high context culture. There's a good part and bad part in each of the context. These are the difference between them, and also there's a difference between the territorialities, the space. Uh, Low context culture people tends to be high territoriality. On the other hand, high context culture is has low territoriality. Uh, so there are difference between them. And so if Japanese people in high context culture, so they have sense of sharing spaces in one place and doing some work together. But on the other hand, the low context culture, the people tends to do their individual work and bring that into the group works after their individual work to do some discussion on it. But during the workshop on the online, uh, most of the contexts are very low, so they have to do their own work in order to bring that to the workshop in order to work the make the outcomes work more better. And approach ways of approaching meanings. High context culture tends to approach from the context, not the information, to the meetings. But on the low context culture, they tend to approach from the information into context, into meetings. So there are some kind of subjective approach and also objective approach for the low context culture. But because we are on online workshop, there are not many contexts that we are sharing. So we have to be in a long context mindset in order to cope with these situations. Approaching uncertain situations, there is a context gap between us. And in high context culture, they approach passively for the uncertain situation. And on the other hand, low context culture, they approach proactively for the uncertain situations. And because Japanese have a high context mindset, they avoid uncertainty or less no or less approach into the certain uncertain situations. On the other hand, accepting uncertainty and challenge to approach from the low context culture that will solve many of the problems that is shared on the context gap. And the context gap will be something language, culture, environment, atmosphere, and space. Uh, in the ordinary international design workshop, language and culture was the context gap, the only context gap that is shared. But because we are online, the environment, atmosphere, and space is added to the context gap. That makes it more difficult to overcome. So to overcome those communication difficulties or barriers, I divided some of the communication styles into four axes. And synchronous communication at the top and asynchronous communication at the bottom. On the right, high context culture. On the right, low context culture. And in the ordinary group works on the right-hand side, synchronous communication in high context. Face-to-face communication, in-person, in-place communication is there. This is very good, but they have no archival. Uh, it's really hard to cope with, overcome those situations. But on the left-hand side, we have online meetings and also reading and writing text, low context, but asynchronous and also synchronous communication. These things are easily archived to check again and again for the further understandings. And also for the group text chatting, it's asynchronous communication, but a high context. It can be slower communication can be slower, so it's so easier to understand. And these types of communication is supported by all those online applications, like such as WebEx meetings, as a easily archived low context and communications. And also for the Slacks and Miro, they can be a slower, making communication slower in order to understand easier. So as a result, slow and archived communication helps students understand the situation more precisely, and they can overcome barriers and difficulties. Okay, so in general, design is very high context. Value of it is discovering what you want that you had no knowledge of your needs, but the design process is low context. Mindset to observe and comprehend users and subjects of design. The- And doing some training on those low context situation is very important as a designer of the future. So to make ourselves in a low context culture communicate in a language that is not your mother tongue, culture that is different from where you grew up, and also environment and atmosphere that you are not used to. And the COVID-19 pandemics made us realize the importance of communication. Online communication can be a communication training in low context culture, which preciousness of face-to-face communication experience is reimagined. So for the conclusion, these are the conclusion up to now. The use of online digital tools not only enable group work in remote location, but also enable discussions and feedback among students and between students and faculty that transcend the limitation of time and place, but automatically archiving the contents. And by blending the synchronous and asynchronous, verbal and nonverbal communication, it is possible to respond to a wide variety of participants, including those from different cultures. And these researches are still in progress. I'm organizing the research groups to write papers on that. So there are papers are coming up in the near future. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Any comments, messages, collaborations is appreciated. I have listed my emails, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can contact me anytime for any comments. So thank you very much for listening. We are looking forward to see all of you in Taiwan or in Japan after the pandemic is over. Thank you very much.